What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here. We got it's not really a breaking news episode because it's kind of a day late. Got called up at work, but for me, this is such big news because USC has officially announced they're parting ways with head coach Clay Helton, which means USC will be on the head coaching search this all season, and it ends a really, I guess, up and down, drama filled tenure with Clay Helton and USC, in which he's really been on the hot seat for probably, what, 2 years now. And last week, they were 17-point favorites over Stanford, who just got blown out by Kansas State in Dallas. And USC got absolutely handled at home in the Coliseum. And it was really the last straw for most boosters, presidents, everything like that. And so Clay Helton gone, and Dante Williams, who was a cornerbacks coach and the associate head coach, will be the head coach for the remainder of the season. And then USC will proceed to find the replacement for Clay Helton. And, when you look at his tenure at USC, he was 46-24, 36-13 in the Pac-12, and only won the conference title once. He went 3 times and was 1-3 in that. He was 2-3 in bowl appearances, in which he lost the Holiday Bowl twice, lost the Cotton Bowl, won 1 Rose Bowl, and won a Las Vegas Bowl as the interim coach back in 2013. But for me, it stems like a lot deeper than that. They never really claimed the Pac-12, and when you look at the 5-7 year in 2018, that really was a low point that kind of put him on the hot seat for the rest of his tenure. And then I thought last year he had a great job, a great chance to save his job in the Pac-12 championship against a beat-up Oregon team who wasn't even supposed to be there because Washington got COVID and couldn't play. And he went out there and got out-coached by Mario Cristobal, and the Ducks got the Pac-12 championship. And they finished 5-1, didn't get to go to a bowl game due to COVID. And then this year, they looked okay week 1. They're ranked top 15, and then Stanford comes in and blows the doors off of them. And that's just kind of been a recurring theme for under Clay Helton, is where they'll play well, and then in like the biggest games and these games they should win, he just falls completely short. He never was able to get this program to the heights that they hired him to get to. And so they decided to part ways. It's probably for the best. Clay Helton will probably find another job somewhere in college football. I'm absolutely sure of it. But that was the announcement. What went wrong was the losses, like I said, and also the recruiting. Up until just recently, the recruiting was really lacking for USC. They weren't able to really wall off California like USC boosters and fans expected him to. They want to kind of go back to those Pete Carroll days in which you keep those kids in California at home. You don't let Alabama, Clemson, Oregon even come down there and steal all your top recruits. And Clay Helton failed to do that time and time again. Now, they did have 2 5-stars committed in this next class, so I'm going to be interested to see how they can keep that class together moving forward. But for me, it was the recruiting, the lack of wins in big games, the consistent letdowns in games they should win, the lack of bowl success, the lack of just Pac-12 championships. USC should not be a middle-of-the-road Pac-12 team, and they have absolutely been surpassed by Oregon at the top of the Pac-12. And USC, I believe, upper management and the heads of that university just kind of had enough of it, and we're like, man, we got to do something here. We need a fresh start, some energy in this program, etc. So, Yahoo Sports released a list of coaches. It was Pete Thamel, and ranked them in terms of, breaking down the top candidates. So I'm going to go through it. I'm just going to name them, and then I'm going to give you my top 3 candidates for the job. The list starts out with James Franklin, Penn State head coach. Second is Bill O'Brien, the Alabama offensive coordinator. Matt Campbell, Iowa State at 3. Luke Fickell, Cincinnati at 4. Mario Cristobal from Oregon at 5. PJ Fleck at 6. Greg Schiano at 7. Tony Elliott, Clemson O coordinator at 8. And then they also mentioned Chris Peterson, former Washington head coach, now works for Fox Sports, and Bob Stoops, former Oklahoma coach, works as Fox Sports, as some outside candidates that they could try to just throw a bunch of money at to try to get them to come back. So I'm going to give you my top 3 candidates, kind of break down why I feel that way, and then we'll kind of get into the expectations and come back to what needs to change. I guess I ordered those incorrectly, but my number one, just in my opinion, and I guess it's going to get a little bit of pushback, is Chris Peterson. If that is a real possibility to throw a bunch of money at Chris Peterson to get back into coaching, you absolutely have to do that. USC actually offered him the job in 2013, and he turned it down for some reason. And for me, they have to try to close this deal because they ended up hiring Steve Sarkisian. That didn't work. But after 2 seasons off for Peterson, is he ready to come back? For me, he's young enough where I absolutely could see him come back in coaching. He's won in the Pac-12 before. He's won at Boise State. He's won on that West Coast, and he has established recruiting ties. He's shown that he can develop talent as well. So for me, Chris Peterson absolutely would be my first choice if I had to pick anybody. But he's probably one of the more long shots just because I don't know if he actually wants to come back to coach. But I love Chris Peterson in this role. And now the other one, I agree. I have to agree with this list. James Franklin has to be pretty high on your list here. When you look at what he's done at Penn State, you look at what he did at Vanderbilt, he understands how to recruit. He understands how to develop talent. He understands how to compete in a very talented conference. And if really and truly, if it wasn't, he won the Big Ten while Ohio State was at its prime, like at its height. But he got left out of the college football playoff due to some other outstanding losses. But for me, James Franklin has the DNA of a coach that absolutely can lead a program like USC. The recruits are going to be interested. Penn State has the number 1 class in the country right this second for the 2022 class. So for me, getting James Franklin to come, who's proven he, 1, can rebuild a program at Vanderbilt, 2, continue the success that Bill O'Brien was having at Penn State and keep it going as he has thus far, James Franklin would be an interesting hire for me. And he's proven that he can recruit across the country, and that's something that Clay Helton and USC kind of fell to do at times last year, or through his tenure. The other one for me is Luke Fickell, and I want to say I think this is a long shot, especially due to Cincinnati moving to the Big 12 now. But Luke Fickell absolutely has earned a shot, and he took over a 4-8 program. He's gone 33-6 at Cincinnati. He has them right in the thick of playoff contention. And the number one thing is he has shown that he is an amazing coach on the sideline. Yes, Cincinnati hasn't had the top talent from all around the country, but what he's done is develop talent and puts them in the best positions to win, which is something that Clay Helton failed to do time and time again at USC. He has shown that he can hit the transfer portal and land like a Javon Briggs, a defensive tackle who's been an outstanding player for them this year. A Jerome Ford at running back from Alabama who's been a key factor in that offense this year. And he has shown that he can sustain it. He's been in the AAC championship for, I believe, 2 straight years, and this could possibly be their 3rd. They're a top 8 team in the country. They probably have the best chance this season for a group of 5 teams to sneak into the college football playoff of ever. And he's shown that he can develop quarterbacks in Desmond Ridder. He's shown that he understands coordinator relationships by Marcus Freeman becoming one of the best defensive coordinators under him. Luke Fickell with a USC job would be so dangerous, and I personally believe he could absolutely be a key for this rebuilt USC program. And I just want to say, I still don't hate the Bill O'Brien idea. I don't know if he'd be ready to take a head coaching spot immediately because he's doing pretty well over there at Bama, and he has a lot of talent. So I don't know if he would like to do 2 years at Bama or just do 1. But if you could get Bill O'Brien, it'd be so interesting because if people don't remember, he took over a Penn State program right after the devastating sanctions after the whole Sandusky and Paterno incidents. But for me, his NFL experience is the number one thing. He could sell that now to recruits on the West Coast. And can he get more kids in California to stay home in California? Now, that is a key. I want to see how he can do that. He showed at Penn State he could take over a program in disarray and organize it back up, build it back up to be competitive. So Bill O'Brien is looking to step back in the head coaching role. USC would be an absolutely a great entrance back into the head coaching game in college football for Bill O'Brien. So I really like him as well. Now, what needs to change? One, I think the recruiting is the number one thing. You have to recruit better on the West Coast. You have to keep the number one, number two, number three kids in California. Try to keep them at USC if possible. You have to do better at keeping in-state talent. In-state, you're in too big of a state to keep everybody, but keep the important pieces. USC should always be, in the running or trying to land the number one player out of California every year. And that has not consistently happened in a long time. Also, win the games you're supposed to. There is no reason Stanford, coming off an embarrassing loss to K-State, should run up the score on USC in the Coliseum. Their new head coach has to win the games that they're supposed to win. And at three, you have to show that you can be the face of the Pac-12 again, because that is what the fan expectations are. That is what the upper management, the AD, the president, that's what their expectations are. You have a long way to go to catch Mario Cristobal at Oregon, but you at least have to be the face of that South Division and win that division more often than not. That is the key. And avoid losing seasons, man. There is never a world where USC should be 5-7 in the Pac-12. That cannot happen. And for me, it's a great time to become a new head coach for USC with a new Pac-12 commissioner, everything like that. The ceiling is very high for the Pac-12 under George. And so for me, I think it's a job a lot of people are going to want. I think you're going to see a lot of interviews. USC is going to take their time because this is a decision that could really affect the AD's job future over there at USC if he makes a misstep here and USC takes another big step back. But those are my candidates. That's the latest on this coaching search. We'll keep you updated right here on the Blue Bloods. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, man. We just hit 1,000 subs. I can't thank y'all enough. But make sure to, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We got so much week 3 content coming out starting tomorrow. So make sure to tune in for that. And I want you to comment what you think of this job. Who is your favorite for the job? And just give me your opinions below. I love to hear them and I love to interact with them. But guys, for right now on the Blue Bloods, we are out.